tutorial for the hair is needed. Someone's not tapped in with the YouTube. Someone's not. Like, how y'all gonna ask me for hair routine this, hair routine that? Giving y'all all the sauce on here. What's good, YouTube? It's Nathan Xavier, and we back with another video. I'm basically just gonna go over my hair cutting journey. I cut my friend's hair at school and all that. I cut my own hair. I'm not licensed. I'm not no professional. I haven't went to no barber school. I haven't cut in a shop before. I literally cut at home, cut myself at home, cut at school in the dorms. I'm more so cutting my own hair. I started cutting hair at like 15 or 16, and the reason was because my barber wasn't doing what I wanted him to do. I wanted something like this, but with a high taper, and he kept giving me low tapers and blending into the curls, and I wasn't really rocking with it. I could have just switched my barber, but I'm one of those people, like, if I'm gonna stick with a barber, I'm gonna stick with a barber for a long time. I ultimately just decided that I was gonna learn to do it myself. I knew my mom had clippers. I was gonna make a video when I was downstairs and you come up here seeing, bro.
I'm sorry.
You're fat. Yes, please. Thank you. But you ate watermelon and now you're eating this?
Yes.
Yo. Nah, you're different, man. I know my mom had like an old pair of clippers back at the house because she used to cut my hair when I was younger. Like, you know when your parents, like I said in the hair journey video, they put a one guard on and just buzz you. That's what my mom used to do for me. Knowing that, I want to start to learn how to cut my own hair. Just like that, I don't have to wait in lines for like 2 to 3 hours. Because this guy, my barber, was always booked. He only spoke Spanish. I can't speak Spanish. Y'all know that already. I can't speak Spanish. So I would just go in as a walk-in type shit. I would tell him I would come this day and he would have like 3 people ahead of me every single time. So I wasn't down waiting that much longer. I ultimately decided that I would start cutting my own hair, and I'm gonna have my first cut up right here. As you can see, I kind of, you know, started this little high type of, not undercut, but like just a high taper layout type thing. And this is what I've always wanted, and he was not doing that for me. I'd always had like curls over here and he would just blend into the curls. So this was my first haircut. What I did in this one was I just grabbed the, I don't even know what clipper it was. It was some Walmart clippers. Stuck a number 2 guard on there and just went up, flicked out toward the ends. It's not amazing cut. I just really wanted to debulk it. I had the layout, I had the blueprint, the infrastructure, I had the base of what I wanted. I just didn't know how to fade. I didn't know how to line myself up. So this was also around the time where I was learning. I was just watching hella tutorials. Over 5 years, damn. That's crazy. That was the first time I tried, and then I spent the next month just watching tutorials, trying to teach myself how to fade, what guards to use, just getting used to everything basically. And my next cut, pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie, but I basically just ran a 1 instead of a 2. Still no fades because I was kind of scared. I didn't know what I was doing. Still no lineups, just running a 1 across it all. This was also around the time where I wasn't trying to go for undercut. The hair that was on here was kind of touching my ears and I didn't like it, so I had like a high taper and then I had like a low ass undercut into the back taper. It looked weird if I were to braid it, but I still didn't know how to do that at the time, so it was fine. Literally the week after, on April 10th, I decided to just get the undercut. I just do it. I parted my hair with a rat tail comb, trimmed it down, and the undercut was a lot lower than what I have it right now. It's pretty high right now. We'll get on to why I made it higher later when I actually show what I had. Yeah, still doing the same thing, running a 1 across it all. I wasn't really touching the lineup because I didn't know what to do for the lineup. All right, so then we get into July 2017, and this was the last time I got a haircut from that barber. I was in a quinceañera, so I was like, I'm not trying to be experimental with my cuts for something so important for someone. So I was like, yeah, let me just go to the barber and get a cut. I know that it will be good. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really like the cut he gave me. I feel like it was a little too high for a drop fade. At this time, my hair was like starting to drop. You can look at the cut and it'll just look like a bald line, and then the hair, the no fade. That's why it looked the way it did. I just really wasn't rocking with it. But yeah, that was the last time I got a cut from someone else that wasn't myself. July 18th, 2017. That's crazy. I should do a video. Someone that doesn't really know how to cut my hair, and me try to fix it after. So next we get into August 3rd, 2017. This is when I made the undercut a little higher. Did the same thing. I sectioned off the hair. I trimmed it down. I kind of wanted a high top around this time. I think the high tops were at like kind of its peak. I still wanted to keep that little drop, but I still wanted a high top. I'm not gonna lie, I regret this so much. I think I should have kept it. I should have kept the drop how the drop was before. When I did do this, I did have more room to fade with the drop fade undercut. Somewhat a win, somewhat a loss. I really don't mind now because the back is longer. It's kind of like a mullet and I really don't care. You don't really see my cut when my hair is like this anyways. This is also the time where I started doing more drop fades. I was still learning how to fade. I wasn't really too comfortable with it. So you'll see on in later cuts, I did more like mid tapers, low tapers, just because I think it was a lot easier to do that. Next, we go from September 20th, 2017 to around March 18th. My hair was getting a lot longer and covering more of the sides. The haircuts, in my opinion, they were kind of consistent at the same level. They weren't amazing. When I'm looking back on these, they might look good for someone who's only been cutting for like 6 months, but a lot of indifferences, especially in lining myself up. I always had one side that was a little more slanted down compared to the other. A quick little thing, the little like red patches and white dots, I try to use cream. Sometimes, you know, the clippers be hot, so kind of just, you know, reignites that redness and the whiteness. It's not because I'm like scratching myself too much. It's just natural. I've always had it. I wasn't seeing a huge difference in my cuts because I still was using those Walmart clippers. Not just because I was using the Walmart clippers, but also because I was looking at the mistakes I was making within the cuts and trying to fix those mistakes. I would just do the same process over and over. If it didn't look good, it didn't look good. Wait for my hair to grow back and try it again. But after that, in March, that's when I got a new pair of clippers. I got the Oster Fast Feeds with the purple magnetic nano guards, and I was starting to use the Andis T outliner. That's when I started seeing a huge difference in my cuts. I feel like the Oster Fast Feeds, because they did have a slow motor, it was less prone to make mistakes, and I could go over my cuts a little slower and take my time with it and be patient. Then I started doing tapers a lot more as well from March 18th, 2018 to like June and July, or through June and July into August, because this was the first time I also did the curls and waves thing. So I was doing tapers around that time because I had the waves underneath, and I wasn't gonna do a drop fade with the waves if I didn't really know how to cut waves. I feel like I did make a decent enough improvement in my cuts, but it wasn't amazing yet. I wouldn't say I was good at cutting. And I was also cutting my friend's hair around this time as well, now that I have new clippers. So I was giving them cuts. What was I was charging like $10 back then, bro. $10 for my friends. It wasn't much, but you gotta start somewhere, you feel me? After the whole waves and the little tapers I was doing with the waves, I'm not gonna lie, I struggled so much cutting my hair with the waves to a point where I just cut the waves off completely. It was already getting a lot to manage. I really couldn't blend that too, like the two guard, into the longer parts of the waves. And I didn't know that you had to like trim down the waves as well to make it like pop more. From August to November, I was doing a lot more tapers still. Like I said, they were a lot easier. I was noticing an improvement in my tapers, but there's not really many videos or pictures of it. I was just doing little low tapers all the time. I decided from November to July, I was doing a lot more drop fades and low fades, but I was also integrating designs in my cuts. So I would have like a streaky line like that going across. I thought those were like the most amazing thing ever, just having designs and shit. So you're gonna see me being a lot more experimental with designs. Most of them were bad, some of them were good, but I was always having that streaky line on the left side, and then I added sometimes like 2 lines coming out over here. When the designs grow back, they always grow back like later than the rest of your hair. Like say if a design were to grow back right now, it wouldn't look as sharp. Designs lasted like 1 or 2 days at most. During this time, I also messed up one of my cuts. I was trying to line myself up, right? And I kind of like slanted in like that. So my idea was either to push my whole hairline back or to make that like swoosh design like that, right? I made the swoosh design and that shit looked terrible with my haircut. Terrible. One of the worst decisions I felt like I've made. Never again, bro. Never again. It just looked bad. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. Nah, that was not it. I thought it was cool as fuck too. So for the next like month and a half, I was doing that shit. After that grew back, it took until like September, from July to September, just for that little portion to grow back fully and be like the same length as the rest of my hair. I went back to doing tapers again, but instead of like low tapers, I was doing more like mid and burst tapers. And I would also say this is when I was like starting to gain a lot more confidence, knowing that my cuts weren't like shit no more. Like I was like proud to say I can cut hair, and it was semi good. It wasn't amazing yet, but it was good enough to a point where like I could walk out the house and not get violated by my friends. This was also like after the whole burst fade thing, little era I was going through, I went back to the drop fades again, and this was when I was like, yeah, my drop fades are not, they're good now. They're good now. Like I know what I'm doing. I know how to do this with my hair type, my hair texture. This was around like November 10th, 2019. So this was, I would say, when did I first start again? I started March 9th, 2017 to November 10th, 2019, that's when I would say my cuts were good. It took me 2 years to get to this point, cutting my own hair, my mom's hair, because my mom has short hair, and I would say like consistently 3 of my friends. I feel like the more people you cut with different hair textures, the quicker and the faster you'll learn, if that makes sense. So in January 2020, started using enhancements and the pencil. I used a tan pencil at first. It wasn't that visible, so then like after a few months I moved on to the white pencil. I don't use the white pencil as much as I used to. I was using the enhanced spray. It's like a little like spray bottle. I wasn't using like the paint yet. I was just using hair fibers basically, and those will help out a lot. But every time I washed my face, those came off. The stick and hold spray never worked. I was looking into getting into like the airbrushes and the paint. But yeah, my cuts were getting like, I was really just like, yeah, I've made it with this shit. I mean, obviously there's still room to improve. Then March 28th, 2020 was when I posted my first TikTok with my haircuts. I was acting like I didn't know how to cut hair. That was probably the best decision I made. I feel like this kind of set the groundwork for where I am right now. If I didn't make this video, I wouldn't be here right now. So I acted like I didn't know how to cut hair because the whole trend of quarantine and barbershops closing. So people were trying to cut their own hair, and most of the videos, I would say like 1 or 2 videos I saw people actually did a good job, but most of them, they were ass. They didn't know how to cut hair. So I'm like, all right, let me think. If I do this and follow everyone else, obviously the video's not gonna hit. But if I do this and I actually show that I'm good, people gonna be like, yo, nah, his first time, that's crazy. But then people caught on that it's not my first time. So I started making more like hair cutting content and hair related content from this point on. It took me like 2 weeks to find my niche on TikTok. That shit crazy. That shit crazy, bro. The whole hair cutting scene for me growing a lot quicker than I expected. I was doing a lot more haircuts on myself. I used to cut my hair once a month, but then with this whole like, I can create content off of this, why not cut my hair more often, right? So I ended up cutting, like giving myself fades every 2 weeks. In the weeks in between, I would line myself up and make content around all of that from July on. And I used to still do it, but it's not as consistent because I'm not gonna lie, there's times where I just don't want to cut my hair. You just don't want to do it, bro. You just don't want to do it. It's mad work sometimes. July 27th, 2020 till now, consistent cuts 4 times a month. I know cutting your hair a lot might not be good for your skin, but if I'm making content, bro, fuck it. And this was also around the time where I was like, yeah, my cuts are good. Like, my cuts are fire. There's no stopping me now, bro. There is no stopping me. I'm gaining traction from this shit. I'm helping people out, like y'all. If y'all want to learn how to cut hair, y'all was DMing me like on what things to buy. I didn't think I would, like, I don't know. If you were to ask me when I first started cutting hair that this would be what it is now, I wouldn't believe you, obviously. I feel like everyone says that though, but it's just, I'm very grateful for being able to obtain this skill, being able to help people around me who also want to learn how to obtain this skill. From 2017 to 2020, I was like peak confidence with my haircuts. Along the way though, what you do have to realize is that you're going to make mistakes. Mistakes are inevitable, but with those mistakes, you learn from them. Take progress pictures, record your cuts, so you can look back on them and see where you need to touch up on. Cut different hair textures, not just your own hair texture, because you know, you can learn a lot more from cutting other hair textures about your own hair texture. Pick up on little things, like I said earlier. At the age I did it at a perfect time. I was 15, 16, and I was cutting friends' hair at school. Not at school, but they would come over to my house, I would cut them. It was like a little side hustle at the time. And I feel like this is like the most important skill I've learned throughout high school. Teaching myself how to cut hair, because if I didn't teach myself how to cut hair then, I wouldn't be cutting hair at school. I wouldn't be cutting my friend. I wouldn't be even cutting my, I wouldn't even have no content. You know what I mean? I would have no content. I would have to rely on being funny and my personality. If you are young and this does interest you, definitely take the chance to learn how to cut hair. Watch hella tutorials, cut people's hair, you feel me? And obviously you're gonna have to start somewhere. You're not gonna have the best clippers right away. You're not gonna have the best materials right away. But as long as you start with something and you put yourself to take that first step, you'll be fine later on. If you stay consistent with it. Say if you're like 13, 14, you learn all this stuff now. By the time you're 16, you'll be cutting hair consistently. At school, you'll have like a good group of clientele because you're at school. You're around people. They see your cuts, right? They see the people you cut as well walking around school. Word of mouth goes, you know, goes a long way. I was 15 when I first started. I would say I was good at like 17, 18, and now I'm 20 now. It's gonna take time. It might take you less time than some people. Some people pick up on this shit a lot quicker than others, but you all get to the same endpoint. You all are going to be able to cut hair if you apply yourself to do so. That's my barber journey, hair cutting journey, whatever you want to call it. I hope y'all enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one. you a sub. Imagine you following me. Who opened this? She wanna